Okay, we're going to get started. I apologize for the delay. We're still having some technical difficulty with our live stream, so we're just going to go ahead. The meeting is being recorded, though, and the recording will get posted. Our technician is off-site working remotely to try and get the live streaming up and running. So hopefully that will kick in at some point. But in the meantime, we will get started. I would like to ask everybody to please stand and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And just a couple of housekeeping items for everybody. If you do have cell phones, we'd appreciate that you put them on silence. If you have any conversations that you want to have, please take them outside of the council chambers. There is a conference room on either side that you can use for those. Bathrooms are going to be to my right. Men's would be towards the front of the building, left as you exit the doorway here, and right for the ladies' room there. In the event of an emergency, we ask that you please use the stairways to exit the building and not the elevators. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over. This is a joint meeting of the Heritage Area Commission and the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I'm the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. Today is July 7th, 2022, and we are in the Common Council chambers at Kingston City Hall. I'm going to turn the meeting first over to Chairman Hayes Clement, who will introduce the members of the Heritage Commission that are here and present, and then he will proceed with the adoption of the minutes of last month, and then he will in turn it over to Chairman Mark Grumblatt for the HLPC to introduce his commission members, and then the adoption of last month's meeting, and we will proceed then with our regular agenda. So Hayes, you are up. It is 6:49 p.m.
Thank you, Sue. My name is Hayes Clement. I'm the chairman of the Heritage Area Commission and also a member of the Historic Landmarks Preservation Commission. I will note that the HAC has a quorum tonight. I'll go around the table and ask all the members of the Heritage Area Commission to introduce themselves. Janet?
Janet Marr.
Nettie Morano.
Mike Del Priori.
And I'll note the absence of Bonnie Howland, our vice chairman, and Kevin McAvoy tonight. But we do have a quorum. I'll also note that another commissioner, Dean Barnes, has had to resign from the commission. But again, even with those absences and that resignation, we do have a quorum tonight. First item of business for the Heritage Area Commission is the adoption of our minutes of last meeting, which was June 2nd, 2022. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of June 2nd, 2022 for the Heritage Area Commission?
Nettie Morano, so move.
Do I hear a second?
Janet Marr, second.
Thank you, Janet. Any discussion of that? Any debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. You can raise your hand to signify approval and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
No, you would not be able to, no.
Okay, so we don't have a
Quorum to approve the
quorum
minutes.
to approve the minutes.
We'll have to carry them over.
Defer that till next month. So that, do we need a motion to table it? Or
Yes, please.
Hear a motion to table approval of the June 2nd, 2022 minutes. Michael Del Priore, do I hear a second?
I'll second it. Nettie Morano.
Nettie Morano, thank you. Any debate on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Signify yes by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Till next month. I will now turn it back over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Hayes. I'm Mark Grunblatt. I chair the Historic Landmark Preservation Commission. I'd like the members of our commission to introduce themselves, starting with you, Robert.
Robert Tonner.
Hayes Clement.
Andrea Putz, architect of the commission.
And I note the and
Nettie Morano.
thank you. Long way round to you. All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from last month? Any changes or amendments folks would like to make? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes as entered.
So moved.
Okay. And thank you, Hayes.
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Do we need to take a roll, or is it simple ayes will do it?
For this simple I will do.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Indicate by aye. Right, unanimous. Back to you, Hayes.
First item of business, and this is HLPC business, but Mark, as I understand it, is continuing to recuse himself because he is a neighbor of the applicant property. So I will chair this portion of the meeting for the HLPC. The matter at hand is 106-122 Green Street, which is a proposal to replace windows and shutters by the owners of the building, the Wiltwyck chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Is a representative from the applicant here tonight? Can you all come around to the front here? Thank you. And if you could introduce yourselves.
You just need to hit the button on the mic, and it'll turn green. Thank you.
Selena Gindal, I'm the regent of the Wiltwyck chapter.
Karen Davis, I'm the treasurer and house manager.
So this is sort of the third month, I believe, we've considered this motion. Last time we asked for some supplemental materials, including sharing examples of the windows that are proposed and also a conditioned assessment survey of the existing windows and an opinion from a certified professional historic preservation expert. I will note for the record that you have submitted a couple of letters from contractors. We don't have a sample of the windows yet.
No, we had asked, okay, I'm just going to, we had asked for the sample of material product. The explanation as to why it was not available was there was a COVID issue with one of the gentlemen, and now there is a supply chain question that they don't have an available sample to provide to the city, to the commissions at this time. Correct?
Yeah, I did bring a paper. I think you can hear me.
It's being recorded, so you do need to speak. And no, it has to be green. I'm sorry. Press it again. Okay, and just speak into the mic. You can bend it forward if it's easier.
I did bring a paper from the window place, Marvin Windows, and it shows different examples of the window, not the exact windows that we're having put in, but at least you can get an idea of what they look like 3/3, 4/4, 6/6, that kind of thing, if you wanted to look at that.
It was our understanding back in May, I think when you first appeared, that there was a sample that you had the windows already ordered. I mean, is that okay? But you don't have a physical.
We don't have a physical example at that time of with our application. We did send the manufacturer's detailed description of each and every size with the dimensions and everything.
Okay.
Before we open it up to commissioners asking questions, Sue, would you give us the planning department's professional opinion on the
Right. Okay.
the paperwork I submitted.
Okay, well, you do have in your staff notes, first of all, what the decision was at the June meeting. So I think that's very important to recognize. The decision of the HLPC was that the commission voted unanimously to table the application until the July 7th meeting, noting that the application is recognized to be incomplete at this time. The following information is requested. 1, the applicant provide the name and background of the historic professional which has been engaged to undertake a conditions assessment to the planning office immediately. And number 2, the final conditions assessment report and any supporting documents be submitted to the planning office by June 30th, 1 week prior to the next meeting for posting and circulation. The HAC decision of June was the commission voted unanimously to table the application and endorse the HLP decision to request additional information be submitted. So based on that, we did send out requests immediately the following day. An email went out from my office, and then the following week, the decisions did go out by email to the applicants. We didn't hear anything. I did reach out to them after the 30th deadline had passed. I reached out to them on the Friday, and they submitted immediately. It's my understanding the original submission had troubles. It didn't get through our Barracuda due to size, so they resent everything to me. The submission essentially consists of 2 statements from 2 separate individuals. One is Jeff Martino, who is the proprietor of Country Homes General Contracting, and the second is Harley Davis, who is the owner, operator of H&J Farms Contracting. We recognize that this is a key building in the Stockade Historic District, and in these submissions that were provided to us to meet the request of the commissions, we don't see them as sufficient. We find them deficient. They both appear to be general contractors that would do a standard window install anywhere, but we don't see the credentials that we expected to be represented as a preservation expert would possess in either of these persons, the way this submission is made. There's no statement that would demonstrate that they are historic preservation experts. They would typically provide background information on themselves to establish their credentials, such as the education, other similar projects they might have worked on, any experience with tax credit projects, resumes, things of that nature should have been provided. There's no indication that there's any familiarity with the Secretary of Interior standards, which are critical in a situation such as this. So we see deficiencies in both and also in the conditions survey documents. For example, one would typically be a stronger, more specific document as part of the assessment. You might see items such as photographs included in a document of each of the windows. You'd see references to individual windows in a survey. You'd see references to the Secretary of Interior standards. You wouldn't see broad strokes that you see in these 2 letters, such as classifying the windows in large groupings, north side of the building, south side of the building, or in generalized bullet statement type form with a conditions survey. It also appears that one of the parties is actually the company you plan to have do the installation. Is that correct? Okay. There was an assumption. I just wanted to clarify that. So we don't feel that either commission is able to really reference or rely on the information that's been provided for you to make an informed decision for this project at this point in time. We have in the past provided names of individuals that do this type of work to the applicants. We understand that you might not want to, use them, and that's fine, but they were typical of the caliber of expertise that we're looking for of a party that should be directly involved here. We recognize that in past discussions, this may not be an all or nothing type project. You may have to completely replace 1 or 2 windows here and there. You might be able to restore, repair one here, one there. So it's not it's not a all or nothing project. You have to look at each individual window independently. We also recognized in past discussions that there are other means to achieve the goals that you want to achieve, such as weatherization and climate control. We did refer your statement, your submission to SHPO to ask them for their opinion on the materials, the newly provided materials, and they concur with our assessment there. So essentially, in conclusion, we at staff level feel the materials are deficient since they don't meet what was requested to make your application capable of being considered complete. So the next question is, where does that leave us? So that would be, is this what you plan to submit as your final submission to deem complete for the Commission's review? Or, I'll let you, have an opportunity to speak, unless I'll turn it back over to the chair.
I would also note, as you acknowledged, Selena, this is something we've been asking you for since April. This wasn't the first time, so it sort of seems to be a pattern here. Do you have any comments y'all want to make to the Commission before we get into questions for you?
I believe you were reading an opinion or conclusion, and may I ask where that was from?
This is staff's comments. This is staff comment. This
Staff
is not
of what?
planning
City
staff.
Planning
The
Department.
city planning
Yes.
department.
Yes.
Okay. We did provide two statements from individuals. Yes, their companies are called contracting. They do restoration as well as original installs and stuff. You got to keep doing that in this day and age to stay in business. It gave their backgrounds on each one of those.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around for many years. We cannot find anyone to do pro bono work for what you've been asking.
Okay. The document did get circulated out on Friday. After you submitted it to me, it did go out to all of the Commission members, both HLPC and HAC. So they have had that document and have had the opportunity to review that. And like I said, I also sent it out to SHPO because SHPO has been involved and did submit an earlier opinion on the project.
What are other commissioners' opinions of the two contractor letters submitted? Do you feel like that passes muster as a conditions assessment survey? Andrea?
Having worked on a number of historic preservation projects professionally, the kind of assessment that I would expect to see from something like this is dimensioning of the existing conditions very specifically. You'll see a plan, you'll see an elevation, you'll see a section of each individual window completely. And as Sue had commented on, you wouldn't see them just as a grouping of 3 by 5 approximately. I mean, some of the notations were good, which is you can stick an all through some sections. That's helpful, that's useful information, but to have every single window thoroughly dimensioned and drafted is critical for us to be able to
And the
understand.
information submitted with the application of the replacement sizes was not enough?
No.
Right.
You want to see a comparison between the existing conditions of the window and the new condition of the window. The office that I work for has also produced those kinds of documents for previous SHPO and NPS projects. And that's what the Secretary of the Interior's standards require.
I apologize. I misunderstood what exactly we talked about the last time. I didn't realize that I needed to tell them that they needed a picture of this window, and because I haven't been at all the meetings, that we needed a picture of this window and then the exact picture of what it is that we're going to replace it with. Because what we did was we got a thing from Marvin Windows that has the dimensions and everything on it, which we submitted already. We submitted that, I think, with the application, if I remember correctly.
standard tech sheets,
Yeah, that had
product
everything
specification
on it
sheets
with-
from Marvin Windows.
Right.
Those were not standard in any way. They were the custom-made ones for
I'm
us.
saying they were the standard spec sheets. It
Right,
wasn't a
yeah.
physical example. It was
Right, I know what
yeah.
yeah. So I did not realize that we had to take a picture of every single window. I can have them go back and do that. I will pay for that myself. I'll take it out of my checking account, and I will pay for them to go and do that if that's what's required. I did not realize that that was exactly what was being said at the time. I was trying to take notes. I was trying to get everything written down, and I didn't get that.
Well, I think it's a little bigger point, and we did ask you to submit the name of your preservation expert that you were going to use for the assessment. We did ask you for a name for the very purpose of vetting that person and being able to tell you before engaging them, yes, this person qualifies. This would be considered a professional opinion.
He was not available to do it within the time that we had. He had things going on, and he said, I can't do it. So this was like a last-minute thing, and I just, I figured something was better than nothing. I mean, I can, like I said, I will pay for it myself and go and see if we can still get this gentleman to come and do this, and I'll pay for it.
Well, if you're, so it would be somebody else other than these two gentlemen. You're talking about another person?
Yeah, we had, I can't think of what his name is.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
If you could get us his name and his background, his credentials, that's why we asked you for that up front, and I think then we can look at that and we can say, okay, he would be a good person to use.
I know his first name's Chris, and I can't think of what his last name is.
Okay.
But that's the critical thing, though. Particularly before you spend your own money, make sure the person is.
Yeah, he wasn't available, and I kept calling him.
Yeah, no. But before you engage him, check with Sue and her staff to make sure this person would indeed be considered. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. That was my
No
fault.
problem.
I have a question, if I may. You seem to be pushing for the preservation of the existing windows. This house was built in the late 1600s. There is nothing left of those windows that were back in that era. Why are we expected to go through all these hoops to preserve these windows that are there?
This is one of the most historically significant and visually one of the highest profile buildings in the Stockade District. I'm a little confused why you're surprised that this
Because
commission wouldn't be reviewing it.
They're not original to the building.
That doesn't mean that it's not historically significant. I mean, if you look at the SHPO opinion from Albany, it takes you through some of the reasoning behind why we try to preserve existing windows. It doesn't mean that they're the original built windows from year one, but they have been in place for a certain period of time that make them more, in character with that building. Andrea, you want to talk about that?
Establishing a period of significance is really sort of where this comes from. So the windows may have been installed in the early 1900s or so. No, they're not original to the structure, but as Hayes just said, they do still have some historic significance. And to dovetail onto what we've been talking about before, this is why we've been urging for you to consult with a historic preservation consultant of some sort. There are many of them around, and I can get some names to Sue for you if you're interested in talking to any of these individuals. And they can give you really specific guidance on what is necessary to help you with the window assessment and survey, and then where to appropriately go from there. And again, I echo the comments from the rest of the commission here too, is that it's a very iconic building in Uptown. We love this building. I know you all love this building, and we all want to see it be maintained. So let's try and get somewhere with this.
Speaking of maintenance, I believe both the statements that were submitted from the professionals say it's because they were not maintained, and that's why they need replacing. The wood is just too far gone. So how come the city has not said anything prior to this?
It's a privately owned property. We're not going to go out and look at individual properties and mandate replacement. It's, you've triggered the review by initiating the program or the project.
Upon your urging, and basically you said we had to.
No, who said you had to replace your windows?
No, you said we had to go through all this.
Right. And you initiated the project. I mean, the city, if you hadn't initiated the project, the city is not going to go out and look at individual private property owner windows and say, you have to replace your windows, unless there's a public safety question about a structure or a component of a structure, then the city isn't going to mandate anything.
Any other commissioners have questions for the applicant or comments? Yes. Matt, if you could
Matt, do you
introduce yourself.
Matthew Jankowski, Assistant Corporation Counsel. One of the overarching legal issues, just so that you're aware, is that your application is deficient. We've discussed the deficiencies with regard to having an expert, but if you familiarize yourself with Section 405-65B, can you write that down, please? It outlines everything that is required in your application. And there are several other deficiencies as well, some that were mentioned in previous meetings, simply showing samples of the materials. That has never been done. There's no way that this board can make a decision as to whether it's appropriate without actually seeing what you're looking to replace. So what I would suggest is basically you withdraw your application, get your ducks in a row, go through what is required for the application under this statute, consult with an expert, and then once everything is in order, resubmit your application. But right now, there's no way they can decide on materials and replacement windows when they haven't seen it, when they haven't, reviewed the actual material itself. I know you've said it's wood, but there are all sorts, there's a whole range of different types of wood. And, these are things that they need to make a decision. Okay, so that's what I would suggest. Familiarize yourself with the statute, which tells you what is required for a completed application, and then once you've gotten all that in order, then resubmit your application.
Am I not correct that once wood is painted a given color, it doesn't matter what the wood is underneath, it's going to be the color of the paint?
Are incorrect with the materials. They will be looking at what materials are being used to replace it. So again, familiarize yourself, speak with an expert, look at this statute, which shows what is necessary for the application, as well as some of the other considerations that they look at for when you are replacing historically significant materials and buildings.
Do you want to go ahead?
Can we just have a second to discuss
Sure.
that quickly?
Question, if we withdraw our application and come back at a later date, will we have to repay the fee?
Is this withdrawing the application or tabling it and they can amend the application?
I would say for the purposes that it's withdrawn and then just resubmitted. We have the fee on file.
Okay.
And so they don't have to submit the fee as part of it.
No, I think rather than withdrawing, we would rather have it tabled one more month.
So you just want it tabled for a month? Or withdrawn?
The other option is you can ask us to take a vote on it as submitted. Correct.
We would like to request to withdraw our application.
Do we need to take action on that?
You need to accept their withdrawal.
No seeker determination. Do I hear a motion to consider the applicant's proposed window replacement at 106 122 Green Street withdrawn as per their request?
So moved, Robert.
So moved by Robert. Do I hear a second? Any debate on that? Any discussion?
I'd like to say something before we get there. I'm wondering if, I realize that it's a financial situation for you. Have you looked into grants?
We can't get grants because we are not on any registry. We're not on the state registry. We're not on the national registry.
The building is not on this?
No, we're privately owned.
And when I tried to do that, we got a notice back saying absolutely not because you're not on the registries.
Lots of privately owned houses.
I'm not sure. I mean, you can be a privately owned property and be on the register. That has nothing to do with it. It's just, you have to, there's detailed documentation, and that's part of what Andrea was stating as well, that you would have to document a lot of history and background about the building. Its architecture is a big feature. And Secretary of Interior standards, how they are met. So there's a lot of information that goes into that nomination form. By doing a good window replacement project, you probably will have a lot of that documentation started. And we can help you with that as well. If you're interested in getting on the register, we can help you.
We took a vote on that, and probably 6 or 7 votes through the course of time that I've even been there, and nobody voted for it. They don't want it. And even when I applied for a DAR grant, we were turned down because we are not a registered.
Okay.
Historic.
You certainly are eligible. I mean, you absolutely have eligibility, so ownership is not a criteria. I do know that. There is another grant that the city has in the uptown area through the DRI, the Downtown Reinvestment Program, and there are facade improvement grants available there. It is online at engagekingston.com, and it's engagekingston.com, and this might, you probably are eligible for that. I think you're within that boundary area, being in the Stockade District. So there are facade improvement programs, and that's, I think, up to $20,000 for that. So check that out.
Can I also, tomorrow, if you get a minute, or either that or Monday, send me that list of the specialists, so in case this gentleman can't do it?
Yeah. Okay. Andrea will get that to me, and you have the names of the other 2 people we've given you already, right? I thought I had 2 that I had passed along. I'll double check my records, but yeah, we'll gather some information and get that off to you immediately. Absolutely.
But it's really critical that you at least come back with the name that you want to choose so that we can say, yeah, that's the direction.
I'll make sure, I promise.
Great.
And if you get me that other gentleman's name, I can certainly, just even if you have his name, we can check him out. Okay.
I know his first name is Chris, but I can't think of what his last name was.
Okay.
I have it written down, but I will do that and then get that back.
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Karen.
So there's a motion on the floor to grant the applicant's request to withdraw the application for the window replacement as proposed at 106-122 Green Street. It's duly made and seconded. Any further debate or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of granting the applicant's request to withdraw the application, please say aye and raise your hand.
This is the HLPC.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? Ayes have it.
You have the HAC.
Now we go to the HAC consideration of this matter. The HAC's role in this would be purely advisory. Any members of the HAC have questions for the applicants? Do I hear a motion from an HAC member to grant the applicants
The withdrawal.
to
Accept the withdrawal.
accept the withdrawal as voted on by the HLPC? Michael, do I hear a second?
Janet Moore, second.
Thank you. Any debate on that motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And raise your hand. Aye. That passes unanimously. Thank you, ladies.
Okay.
We'll see you next month.
Okay, I'll be in touch, Karen.
Okay, yeah, and I'll get back to you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There are some decision documents kind of floating around, so if we want to continue, so I get them back
Okay,
here.
next item on the agenda, 295 Wall Street. Business signs. Someone here on that application? 295.
Yes, that's you.
Someone sneezed while typing. Please introduce yourself and give us a quick overview of your project.
Sure. Good evening. My name is Paul Bikert. I'm from Timely Signs, and we are representing our client for this project. It's a fairly straightforward, non-illuminated, wall-mounted sign that is going in I guess, a currently boarded-up building on 295 Wall Street. So it's made of a composite material called Extera. It's kind of an exterior-grade MDF used in exterior millwork pretty extensively. And it just has white, flat lettering on it, fairly simple and straightforward.
There was a question that I had clarified today because it's a corner building. Obviously, it has two street frontages. They are only putting the sign on the Wall Street side, so there will be no signage at this time on John Street. Just wanted to clarify that, and there's no lighting on this.
And that blue is just the photograph?
That blue is the photograph,
Okay,
yeah.
that's not part of it.
I don't believe they're doing any changes to the fascia of the building. I believe it's white.
Yeah.
The bad PDF.
Do any members of HLPC have any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you. Then I move that the commission find as fact that the proposed installation...
Seeker, Mark.
Seeker. All right. Thank you for the reminder, Sue. I will entertain a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So moved.
Thank you, Hayes. Do I hear a second? Thank you, Robert. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call the motion. All those in favor signify by raising their hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you. And moving right along, I move that the Commission find as fact that the proposed installation of signage at 295 Wall Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicant Timely Signs of Kingston, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the district for the following reasons. The signage will be mounted to the facade of the building and will measure 80 inches by 28 inches and a half inch thick. The material will be black exterior with a beveled edge and white vinyl letters. Any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our Commission prior to additional work being carried out. The Commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this 7th day of July, 2022, our Commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above-referenced applicant for the work as described herein, and in its application to our Commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I hear a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will ask that those in favor signify by raising their hand and saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you kindly. All right. Next up is 302.
HAC.
All right.
Do any members of the Heritage Area Commission have any questions for the applicant?
Moving right along.
Do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to declare this a Type 2 action under seeker? Michael, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second, Nettie Morano.
Thank you, Nettie. Any debate on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Please signify an approval by aye and raising your hand. Aye. Anybody opposed? Second, do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to endorse the approval of the signage at 295 Wall Street as approved by the HLPC?
Nettie Morano, so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Mike.
Second by Michael. Any debate there? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay. Next up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 302 Wall Street. Andrea Wetterland and Mark Haldeman are the applicants. Old Kingston Properties is the owner. Hi. If you'd introduce yourself and give us a quick overview.
Sure. I'm Mark Haldeman, and I am partnering with Andrea Westerland, a business owner who has currently 2 outdoor activewear shops upstate, one in Millerton and one in Great Barrington. We're opening the 3rd store, Westerland, in uptown Kingston at 302 Wall Street. We're proposing 2 signs, one blade sign that faces that's under the bike lane walkway, and a second sign that's facing the wall pretty directly.
All right. Any questions for the applicants from an HLPC member?
Looks great. I love it.
Okay. Right. I will entertain a motion that we declare this action a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
So moved.
Oh, I'm going to give this one to Robert.
Second.
Oh, quick second from Hayes. All right. All those in favor signify by raising their hand and saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All right. I hereby move that the Commission present find as fact that the proposed installation of signage at 302 Wall Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicants Andrea Wetterland and Mark Haldeman, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the district for the following reasons. 2 signs will be added to the Pike Plan canopy. One will be parallel to the street, measuring 2 feet by 6 feet, suspended by chains. The other will be perpendicular to the street, measuring 1.5 feet by 4 feet. Hanging signs will meet the minimum clearance required, and applicant must provide insurance naming the City of Kingston as an additional insured. Any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our Commission prior to the work being carried out. The Commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this 7th day of July, 2022, our Commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above-referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in its application to our Commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Hayes. Any discussion or questions from HLPC members? Hearing none, I will ask that you indicate approval by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it carries. Thank you.
Great. Can I ask one quick question? I know there's one other approval we need. Is it an actual permit from the building department?
Right, we're going to do the heritage right now, and then the building department will be notified of the decision of the approval. You'll get an email notification, and they'll be copied on that. So they'll have that for their record. You just go down there and apply for the signage permit.
Any members of the Heritage Area Commission have questions for the applicant? It looks great. It does. Do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act?
Mike.
Thank you, Michael. Do I hear a second?
Second, Nettie Morano.
Second by Nettie. Thank you. Any debate on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand. Aye. Do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to endorse the HLPC's approval of the signage installation at 302 Wall Street?
Nettie Morano, so moved.
Do I hear a second?
Mike, second.
Second by Michael. That motion's on the floor. Any debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You got to share.
All right, next up is 273 Wall Street, the Froling Sign Company. Evening.
Good evening. Brian O'Connor of Froling Sign, appearing tonight for Citizens Bank at 273 Wall Street.
You'd give us a quick overview?
Yes. So Citizens Bank is in process of rebranding all of their existing branches. That's the reasoning for changing out the signs and also recognizing that some of the signs are hidden because of the tree line and to make the signage more pedestrian friendly, more visible. So our proposal is to remove the existing signage on the front elevation. There's a large sign over the entrance, an internally illuminated sign. There's 2 plaques on each side of the entrance there. Those will be removed. We are proposing to put a set of internally illuminated channel letters spanning over the entrance attached to the 2 columns. There is, on the right side, a Citizens Bank logo on that column, and then on the left side, there's a blade sign. That's what we're proposing for the front elevation. In addition, right now there's existing on the, I believe it's the west and the east column, there's a small plaque that'll be replaced. And that's on the other elevation. And then in the back facing the parking lot, there's a large internally illuminated sign. That sign will be removed and will not be replaced. And then we're proposing there is a pedestrian walkway in between, I believe it's Key Bank and Citizens Bank. And that pedestrian walkway goes from Wall Street to the back parking lot. And that is a secondary entrance for the bank. So they're proposing to put a blade sign there.
Okay, and last I'm seeing a change on the clock.
Correct. So the vinyl graphics on the clock are just going to be replaced with the new branding.
The clock face now is a modern treatment also?
Yes.
Trying to think what it looks.
It's just the graphics itself. That's all that's being replaced. And those are vinyl. So these are, it's just white and then the green, white acrylic, and green translucent vinyl.
And the green is just paint? Is it a plastic facing?
On the clock itself?
No, on either side of the door. The vertical is what I'm
That's
I'm
going to be aluminum. That's painted aluminum.
Okay.
That is this here.
Okay. All right, if I could pass these around.
Sure. Oh, the paper's still on it, but it's just white acrylic.
I have a question about the illumination, the internal illumination. Is it going to have a set timer? What is the concept there?
They will all be on a time clock, and they'll be off at 11 o'clock.
In general, internal illumination is not smiled upon uptown, but they have a long history of it, I know.
Yeah.
Is there a limit? I know in other cases long ago, a time limit was imposed, and there was a question about overall brightness. Has that been discussed?
We have dealt with the brightness in the past. You did that with Don Tallerman on North Front Street. You looked at the nighttime view of it. You can request a night view if you'd like to see that.
Yeah, it is a concern. I mean, the idea is at night we don't want it, very brightly lit. I remember years of battle with the tea garden over that.
The signage itself, once it's installed, I mean, Citizens Bank wants to be a part of Kingston and the community. So if the brightness of the signage is troublesome to the board, they can be put on a dimmer. The LEDs, it's not neon anymore, it's not fluorescent, they're LEDs, they're controllable.
Okay. That I think allays some of my concerns.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We
Is
can add
anyone
that
else?
into the decision. The planning board has a very similar policy when they review signage, that once it's installed, that if it is found to be too bright, we go back and rework it with the applicants. So.
Okay, good. Any other questions from an HLPC member?
No question, but I do concur with having the dimmer.
right. I would entertain a motion that we declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act.
Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Do I hear a second?
Morano, second.
Thank you, Nettie. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. All right. I hereby move that the commissioners find as fact that the proposed installation of signage at 273 Wall Street in the Stockade Historic District by applicant Froling Sign Company, if done according to the plans reviewed at this meeting and according to the procedures stipulated in Section 405-64 of the City of Kingston's Administrative Code, is compatible with the historic character of the district for the following reasons. The application is for a replacement of signage with new branding for Citizens Bank. The proposal includes 2 double-faced illuminated flag signs measuring 36 inches by 36 inches, 1 single-faced illuminated sign measuring 36 by 36, 1 set of 24-inch internally illuminated channel letters, 2 single-faced non-illuminated wall plaques measuring 18 inches by 18 inches, rebranding of the graphics on the clock face, and installation of 2 aluminum panels, 2 columns on the Wall Street facade. Any changes or additions to the plans or work specifically described and outlined in the submitted application will be subject to further review by our commission prior to the work being carried out. I would note here that if there are questions concerning brightness, we'll be asking you or the bank to come back to our commission. The Commission's approval does not obviate the need for a building permit from the City of Kingston's Building Safety Division or any other required approvals from relevant coordinating agencies. Based on the preceding findings of fact, I move that on this 7th day of July 2022, our Commission grant a preservation notice of action to the above-referenced applicant for the work as described herein and in its application to our Commission, such notice to be subject to the conditions contained in the foregoing motion. Do I hear a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, I will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we have passed it. Thank you kindly.
Do any members of the Heritage Area Commission have questions for the applicant? Do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to declare this a Type 2 action under seeker?
Mike, so moved.
Thank you, Michael. Do I hear a second?
Janet Marr, second.
Thank you, Janet. Any debate on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to endorse the approval of the signage installation at 273 Wall Street as approved by the HLPC? Do I hear a second?
Nettie Morano, second.
Thank you, Nettie. That motion's on the floor. Any further discussion or debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Please signify your assent by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
All right, next up, 16 Lucas Avenue, Origin Wellness, Mr. David Guo, if I'm saying that right. Hi.
Hi, my name is David Go. It's been Americanized. And I'm a manager at Origin Wellness. And so we're proposing a simple wall panel sign adjacent to the front door.
All right. My question is, do you have any influence over the sign in the front there? It seems that we would be happier if there's an either or, either, signs on the building or signs out front, kind of not both. Is there
So apparently there's been negotiations with the owner of the building to do a whole new sign in the front. At least that's what he told us a couple of years ago. They were going to take all of that out and put in a big sign for all the tenants that would be oriented perpendicular to the street so that you could actually see the businesses there better. And so when I initially submitted my application, they said that they wanted to see if that process was still moving, and I didn't hear anything about it, so we went ahead and proposed this sign.
Wow. I'm kind of concerned that we would be left with both hanging out there. How can we be helpful?
Saying yes. It's, I mean, it looks, when you look at that place on the brick wall, you can see that there was a sign there before.
I remember it as family
court.
Yes.
And we occupy about 3/4 of that first floor. So, I mean, we're a sizable presence. And so, I don't know, we don't think it improper to put a sign there. We think that it would actually draw more attention to the business that's there. Because, yeah, as you see right now, we're kind of contending with the flagpoles and,
I don't believe that sign at the street was there, though, when Family Court was there.
It was a smaller sign higher up, and it directed people to the district attorney's office, which was in the back at the time, is my recollection of it. Now, this is a building with a interesting history. Besides City Court, it was a motorcycle shop, and before that, it was a skating pond. So they channelized underneath the parking lot. So this could be built, I would put it somewhere in the late 60s. Would be my best guess. So it's not historically tied into the Stockade District, but it is an entryway to the Stockade and is part of the district. So,
right. I think what staff had indicated in the notes is that the property owner has an approved plan for the site. And it includes a landscaping area along the street frontage that has a monument sign to replace this current sign. And that signage is intended to identify the various occupancies that are taking place within the building. That's the signage that you really should be on that. This is adding, more signage to the building tends to clutter the site and the visual appeal, and we want to try and make this a nice entry into the Stockade District, which it really is. I mean, this is one of the major ways that people come in, the Lucas Avenue way. So that's what we're thinking, is that this signage shouldn't be the tenancies should not be individually identified on the building. They should be on that monument sign. That was the intent of the planning board's approval to begin with.
all right. Is there a time limit on the approval that was granted to the landlord?
There was. He was granted building permits for the building, so that approval is valid. Now that approval is carried forward. We've been in touch with the property owner about completing this aspect of the project. It's my understanding that contracts for the landscaping have been let. They're just waiting for them to formally be executed. They have not been started. The project hasn't been started, but they have contracts in place. That's my understanding.
Would you be seeking to also have space on the sign out front when it's ready to be done?
That I would have to talk to the owner about that. I don't know what is planned that way. And I really don't know when that will be executed. We've been here since, the end of 2019, and we haven't heard anything from the owner about plans to move forward. And we are, trying to attract more walk-in traffic, which is not very easy because it's not incredibly attractive, as that entrance to the Stockade District. And so we think that the blue against the brick would actually be attractive and would draw people in, and identifying us as a wellness center, and be, clear what the business is.
Would you be opposed to this matter being tabled for 1 month and allowing us to reach out, maybe with you, to the property owner? And maybe that might be the little nudge that he needs to move that.
I think coming from you guys, that'll have a little more.
I mean, it would certainly help your business, too, to have more of an attractive frontage. I think it would be more welcoming to the site itself.
Sure. No, not at all. That would be terrific.
Right. And you are open to the public. You're not strictly affiliated with the business of the Kinsley Hotel Group, right?
No, it's public.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. I would then entertain a motion that we table this for a month.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Thank you, Robert. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. And thank you, and looking forward to seeing you in August.
Yes.
Does a member of the Heritage Area Commission wish to make a motion endorsing the tabling of this action?
Mike.
Second?
Eddie Morano, second.
Thank you. That motion is on the floor. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you. Next up, 270 Fair Street. Welcome back.
It's good to be back. I submitted, these are all separate section block and lot numbers, so we're dealing with 4 properties, but I wanted to present them as a system of signs because they're the 4 hotels.
Right. I think you'll see in your notes, they are listed separately as individual items on the agenda, but we have incorporated them all under one discussion because they're all the same, essentially the same type of signage, just on the 4 different projects.
Yeah. Just a quick overview. The Hotel Kinsley consists of 4 separate, historic buildings within, uptown Kingston. And one of the challenges of these buildings is they don't all distinctly look like a hotel. So they do have some very discreet lettering and door numbering, some very little branding. But the buildings are all unique in their architectural significance and appearance. The owner was looking to create some type of synergy between the 4 buildings because they're all in a relatively small, 3 or 4 block radius. So we had proposed some banners that have the Hotel Kinsley brand and their coat of arms, which is kind of a fun hand-painted look. Up there, yeah. So all of these banners would be made from fabric, and the coat of arms would be stitched on by hand. They're very sort of a handcrafted approach to that. The lettering is screen printed. All of the hardware, all of these hardware will be made locally by Steve Pasqua from SCP Metal Fabrication. It's all custom made, unlacquered brass finials. with a real nod to like the craftsmanship and trying to make these fit with the building. From what I understand, a couple of these may need a height variance. Is that correct, Sue? So that'll be dealt with separately, I think, with the planning board. Our purpose here today was not really to, if we can get approval to move forward on this and permit them, it'd be wonderful. But we're just trying to present the project and just kind of gauge whether all of these would be approved in terms of the look and from a conceptual standpoint for the owner. We've been working on these for a while, so I think we're close to a finished product here. We're trying to make them consistent and appropriately scaled to the buildings that they're on. So, you guys have any questions? Is it concerns?
I think it looks great.
Thank you. These are all double-sided, although most of these, well, except for Pearl, I think they're all on one-way streets, but for walking traffic too, as people are walking up and down, they can easily see. Do you want to scroll to, is there a second page in there? Just scroll through. You can see the positions. This is, walking traffic both ways. Some of these are really high, so you can see them from a distance. I think the next one is, this is the former Tonerdal building. Beautiful. And 41 Pearl. Some of these are sized a certain way. I think this is just about a foot over the requirement. We could move it down, but it's kind of sized to kind of line up with the window, that window fenestration. I think keeping that in line with that helps from a sight distance, and it also just kind of keeps it out of the way of, I don't know. I think moving it down might be a bit of visual clutter. So I think we'd be willing to go and get whatever variances are needed to make that work. I suppose we could also shorten it a little bit and move it down, but we just want them appropriately scaled to the building.
I like the design. I do have concerns about the variance in height and what that's going to look like when most of those signs are at a lower level and then you're seeing stuff above. Is that going to be sort of visually cluttered, particularly on Fair Street?
Well, let's just start with the 301 Wall Street, which it's hard to see here, but if you were to stand kind of at the beginning of this block where the Mohegan Market is, you'll see that's a very an original sign on the building. That's up higher than this, and so when you look at those, you look down the street. This particular location doesn't really look too high. The other thing with that particular building is that architecturally there are some elements that would prevent us from putting it lower without it looking really awkward and misplaced. I guess, you'd have to go down that one-way street. Oh, you're almost there.
John, I get it, particularly because of the height of the Mohegan sign.
Right, that one.
I was more concerned on Fair.
Well, if you go to the Fair one, we could probably make it work in between the windows. We want it to be out of reach of people. That one, I suppose we could go down. We did a version where it was split between the two windows, and we can certainly send that over to you guys to evaluate if you feel that's the best solution. If we made it shorter, like the John Street version, is it the height of the banner, or is it just the position?
For me, it's just the height, the position. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can certainly take another stab at it.
Again, it's specifically Fair. I'm not as worried about the one on Pearl or the one on John. It's more the
Fair. That one.
That one.
Okay. Okay, so we could, looking at that,
and my concerns may not be shared by anybody else. So.
Well, they're valid nonetheless. But I suppose for this one, we certainly could move it down onto that limestone fascia and shorten it a little bit, and we would still have enough room to be above the door. If you look at the bottom, where that block that says 14, like probably about a foot below that is the entry door, and I think there's even a transom above that. So, it certainly would be out of reach of pedestrians, and I think it would still function. I think because that's a one-way street, and you have Lochinard's awning, by putting it down there, you really, number one, you're going to lose the address number, which I think is important, and you kind of will lose the bulk of the graphics if we do move it down. However, if you're looking along the lines of the parked cars, if you're driving down the center of the street, I think you'd be at such an angle that it may work. We'll probably go back and take some photographs of that, and we'll mock it up from the other direction, and we'll see. I think we could probably make that work if that's the only concern. I think
I'd be interested in seeing that.
Okay.
My other concern is this is going to be a pretty bold red, and it's going to be on fabric. How long do you think it's going to be before these are pretty faded and frayed and everything like that? Or are these going to have to be replaced annually, or?
We're encouraging the client to buy 2 of everything. Better for us, and better for their image too. The red, I'll bring over some samples for the Sunbrella chart. Someone from our office has lent it out, and I expect to have it back soon. It's not as bright as it looks in the image. It's called logo red. There's 2 reds in Sunbrella that are primarily fairly vibrant. There's jockey red, which is really bright red. And then there's logo red, which is a slightly more toned down look.
The red with the heraldry to me maybe reads a little Christmassy, like it's like they're Merry Christmas banners or something. Does anybody else? No.
In all honesty, the client hated it as well. But we tried probably a dozen different versions of it, and they came back to the red because they just, it's part of their identity. If you go to their website, it's a primary color for their brand. And after looking at a number of different versions, if you're more comfortable with it, I will get a full-size sample of the actual red, and you guys can evaluate that. But to answer your question, Sunbrella fabrics, in most cases, even the most vibrant colors, you're looking at a 5-year lifespan. And then throw in the second banner, we're looking at 10 years probably before we have any significant fading on that. I'm sure that they'll be wanting, if there's any significant fading, I think they'd be more than willing to upgrade those on a regular basis. The hardware there is more of a lifetime item. But as with any fabric and any awning fabric that you see, there will always be some long-term degradation. So.
All right, it sounds like you've got some homework.
Sure.
And we would be asking you to come back next month with that, if that can work.
It will.
All right, then I will entertain a motion to table applications for 270 Fair Street, 301 Wall Street, 41 Pearl Street, and 24 John Street.
So moved.
Thank you, Hayes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Robert, thank you for the second. For Historic Landmark Preservation Commission members, indicate approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it has passed. And on to you.
Do I hear a motion from a Heritage Area Commissioner to endorse the tabling of these signage proposals until next month?
Nettie Morano, so moved.
Do I hear a second? Michael, thank you.
And just so I'm clear, it's for the material samples and color samples, or are we looking to change the height on
And a
alternate height on fair?
alternate height on fair.
Okay.
Motion on the floor. Any debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
On to you, Hayes.
Okay. Next application is to the HAC for 180 Schwenk Drive. The proposal to install 2 new monument-style signs and 1 electronic reader board monument. Timely Signs is the applicant. Ulster Savings Bank is the owner. Take it away.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, we've been working with Ulster Savings for a couple of generations in our family, and they are looking to upgrade their current monument signs at their headquarters on Schwenk Drive. And Andrew, if you wouldn't mind just paging through there, I think you'll see the existing ones are fairly old. They're sandblasted wood. I think my father was a very young man when these were installed. They've gotten a lot of miles on them. So what we're proposing here is, I guess, what I would consider a forward-thinking structure, which incorporates an electronic message center. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys have code for electronic message centers? I did talk to Eric Kitchen a little bit about that and sent some code.
We did refer this to him.
Okay.
He called. We discussed it. We have not heard formally back from him what his final opinion is, because there is some question as to whether or not that digital nature of the signage would be an allowed component. Right. In the current code, the way it stands.
Right.
It's something that's being looked at in the upcoming new code, but it's not there yet. So.
Well, it seems like we're ahead of the curve, so we want to.
Right.
I think we can help kind of explain what our thinking is on this, and hopefully. There's people who use this particular technology in very positive ways, and I would say responsible ways, and then other people use it as a just throw a lot of information.
I mean, very much like we had the conversation with the gentleman before with Citizens Bank. The brightness would be an issue, just making sure that it could be toned down if necessary. I think the other concern that he had was I didn't see it, flashing components or no continual movement, lettering or words being scrolled across the sign. Those kinds of things, I think, is what the current regulation is meant to prohibit, not something that kind of stays up for a period of time and then might fade out to another image. I thought that he was going to reach out to you and ask you those questions. So maybe that has not.
Yeah, I did have a conversation with him, and we did prepare a narrative, which is part of this application. You guys have it. I mean, I can read it into the record. It's fairly long. It's probably worth reading just because it does kind of top line some of our approach to this. And it does address things like brightness, the number of changes to messages. There are 2 municipalities that have done, I think, fairly comprehensive code regulations on these types of electronic message centers. One of the early adopters was the town of Poughkeepsie. They reluctantly went into it. And as a result of a lot of uncertainty at the beginning, I'm talking about like maybe 10 years ago, they did it. And they mandated no more than 1 change every 12 hours, which at that level you might as well just have plastic letters and a track to go put them in, because you could, which I know you guys hate. I think those are all banned in every municipality that I've been working in the last 20 years. Town of Ulster recently adopted a code that I think is good. It's probably good for Town of Ulster, but it's probably not good for a historic area, which is a message change every 8 seconds, which I think is kind of rapid. And I think the number of changes that you make on an electronic message center have to be evaluated. Number one, by what the content that the client wants to present, what is that, and how easy is it to read. The location of the sign, of course. And essentially, like how close it is to the viewer, how much time do they have to read it. We have representatives from the bank here. If you have specific questions for them, Connie Harkin is here, both Bill Calderera, bank president, and head of marketing.
Could you just clarify what a message change is? This is going to be a still photo.
Okay, yeah.
That would change every
that's a great question.
Whatever number of seconds. It's not going to be video, right?
No. We, for every electronic message center we've installed in the Hudson Valley and beyond, every single one of them is capable of video. We intentionally disable that function because it's not allowed, and on roadways it really shouldn't be allowed. It can be hazardous. The technology that you see on a jumbotron in a sports arena is exactly the same stuff that Ulster Savings would be putting up. The difference is, how do we use it? How do we use it responsibly? But to answer your question, a message change is a still slide presented for a period of time, and then it changes instantaneously. It's not flashing. It's not fading in or out. There's no motion. It just changes in less than 1 second.
And sometimes it's a still photo, and sometimes it's
a still photo. It may just be text.
Interest rate, a word message.
And the text would be static. It would just be the image of typography, a name, an event, a date, mortgage seminar this Sunday. That may be the content.
And it would never be like a zip message going left to right or anything like that.
No. Okay. That's not of interest. We don't recommend it, and I don't think the bank is looking to trivialize this. They're looking to create a community message center through their charitable foundation. They do support a lot of not-for-profits. They do a lot of great work in the community. They've been here for over 170. What are we up to, Connie? 171 years. So they've always done right by the community, and this new technology will enable them to communicate. I've talked to them personally. They're interested in offering this for Kingston community events. They're a community partner. They're a really big part of Kingston and the Hudson Valley as a whole. So things like fireworks displays, Kingston and Ulster County messaging for emergencies, snow emergencies, weather emergencies, Amber Alerts. New York State does require this to be hooked into the Amber Alert system. So, if that happens automatically for the client. These messages can be changed very easily. It is a wireless cellular cell that can be, whether or not anyone is in the office from Ulster Savings, these can be changed from a phone. They can be changed from home computers. It's a dedicated cellular network, not tied to the bank, and that's usually how they do it. It's a web-based software program. It's very easy to use and quick to change. I basically verbalized almost everything that's in this narrative. Let me just scan it real quick and see if there's anything. We're really interested in making sure this doesn't look like a big TV on a stick, which is, I think, one of the primary objections to these. We don't want it to look like somebody took a giant flat screen TV and just put it outside. And that's why it's kind of integrated into a branded monument sign that has some dimension and some character to it. We talked about the control, the sizing and visibility. This is it's not an overwhelming size display. You're only talking about 5 feet wide by 3 feet high. I said, it's...
I do have a question. It just
sure.
came to me. I just see that there is a exterior light, but yet the sign itself is illuminated internally?
Yeah. So it's a combination of external and internal halo lighting. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen the lettering that's on the fascia. They're LED backlit letters. So the upper cabinet is done in a similar way. So just basically the logo is kind of a halo lit. We do recommend some ground lighting just to kind of light the area around that. That'll be a lot more lower wattage, lower LED, probably a 3000 or 3500 Kelvin soft warm light that just kind of
it wouldn't impact the image. That's what I'm thinking.
No,
shining a light on it.
These automatically dim at night down to, I think,
Okay.
just see down to about 30% of their daily brightness. So, I mean, they really, and you can even go down dimmer, but it happens automatically. It just adjusts to the ambient light. There's one example of it out on Ulster Avenue. I won't name the company, but they do work on autos, but they have a display that does not dim at night, and it's very difficult to read because it's too bright. The letters kind of like run together visually, so it's tough to read. This Watchfire is the leading company in the industry, and they have it really dialed in terms of the aesthetics.
This is proposed to be 96 inches tall. How tall is the existing sign? That one.
The existing sign is a lot lower. It's more horizontal and more squat. This one has a base. This particular sign, it's hard to see in the photographs, but if you were to walk the site, the sidewalk is at a fairly high level, and then the land starts to slope down. One of the things we had discussed earlier this week was, or maybe it was last week, I guess, either bringing the grade up. The sign is at a height to get the display pretty much more at the level that a motorist seated in his or her vehicle would be able to see. Also thinking about moving it a little bit further out, kind of get it away from the building. The other thing is, these wouldn't just be visible. This wouldn't just be visible to the opposite, to the traffic, just looking straight on at it. These have about 170 degree viewing angle, so even the vehicles on the streets on Schwenk and Washington, right next to the sign, would actually be able to see the messaging. It's kind of at a 45 degree angle to the intersection. There's also two other signs. These are at the corners. These do not have any electronic message center. These are just direct replacements, but they still will be. The client we haven't really made the decision as to whether they're just going to be done with ground illumination, which would be a little bit simpler, or they may choose to do the same halo lit look for that. Currently, all three signs are lit with ground fixtures. We'll probably upgrade those to a more energy efficient fixture as part of this construction project, but the electric is all there, so they can choose to split that electric off to do internally illuminated and ground lit, or just go with the ground lighting.
Any other questions from Heritage Area Commissioners or comments? The 96-inch height on the 96-inch height on the primary sign, is that okay by code, or?
Those are okay. The question we had for the zoning officer, which we could make a condition of your recommendation, that it just goes through him. And
would it help, Mike, if we were to provide samples of the content that we would present and what it might look like? Watchfire will provide us with kind of not a scrolling video, but more of a mock-up to show what the actual pixels would look like. I'll also tell you that this is the state-of-the-art highest resolution that they offer, so this is not going to look like little pixels.
Oh, no,
yeah, so.
I don't have a problem with
Mm-hmm.
the content. Again, when I say I trust Ulster Savings to put the proper content in. I'm just saying in general, I'm not a video fan, but given this institution and the modernization of what's going on and where it is,
Mike,
I think this is an area where there's any residential.
your mic.
Right. Any residential, where there's any residential being disturbed by anything, it's
there's illumination on the other three corners at that intersection of signage.
No, I like, for an illuminated screen, I like it.
Thank you.
And this is going to planning board as well.
Mm-hmm.
Ours is just advisory here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, your answers satisfy me. I mean, I would have an issue with it if it were, red lights and a zipper message or
that's
that.
That's not their style.
Or video, yeah. So, but as long as it's pretty static.
Well, one of the things that I don't know, I think that Eric is looking to kind of set some boundaries on this, to be quite honest with you, because any precedent that is set with this particular display will be something that you're going to have to adhere to. So we're happy to work with him. I think 8 seconds is too fast. I told the bank that we'd like to sit at the traffic light and see how long a light change is on each lane and kind of base it on that. And again, this is not the most crucial element of the bank's marketing plan. They're an established bank. People aren't going to run in there because they see a message on this. It's more of a reminder of what they do in the community to kind of support the work that they do, their charitable foundation, and also, I think, in discussions with them, I think they're probably going to use it to support other not-for-profits events and give people a voice that may otherwise be having to resort to a banner that's hanging off a building, which, is probably not as effective and not as.
So that's a good point. And maybe Connie, you might be able to. Are the banners that are currently hanging on the bank itself going to be then non-existent in the future with this new digital kind of signage at the corner?
So the banner that was hanging in this picture have been taken down. So that's an old picture, but we wouldn't have any banners up because we were
Okay. That's a point to make.
It's good.
Any further questions? Any comments? Do I hear a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act?
Mike?
Cool, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Nettie.
Nettie? That motion's on the table. Any debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Our fourth.
You four.
Jenna, did you say aye? Yeah. I didn't. Aye. Oh, sorry. Second, do I hear a motion to endorse the proposal to install 2 new monument-style signs and 1 electronic reader board monument sign at 180 Schwenk Drive as proposed by Timely Signs, with the understanding that any temporary banners will be removed or not placed at the building if the new signage is installed, and that the new signage will feature a message change delay to be determined by the planning department and the building safety department.
Mike?
Michael, do I hear a second?
Janet Moore, second.
Thank you, Janet. That motion's on the floor for debate. Any further debate or comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item is 205 West Chestnut Street, a proposal to install heat pump compressors. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Now, these going to wait until after the presentation of the library.
Next item of business for the Heritage Area Commission is 205 West Chestnut Street, a proposal to install heat pump compressors. Donna Dobbs, applicant and owner. Are you here with us? Anybody representing the applicant?
No, I think we can get through this, though.
Okay.
There is another photo that we received today, just so you can see. This is the side of the building here. And the units are not going to be ground mounted. They're going to be mounted on the wall, the side wall of the building, it's a corner lot, so it's highly visible from the street. I've already had the discussion, not with the property owner, but with Rycor, the installer, that the lines should be covered and colored to match the brick. But I do have concern seeing this today with that foundation. Looks like a very old stone foundation. And doing a building mount into that stone, I'm concerned about damage there that would get done. I don't know why they're not doing them ground mount. There certainly is the space there to do it. And I'd prefer, I think, to see ground mount in this location and some screening.
What's her time frame? Does she have people coming tomorrow to install this, or is
I don't know the answer to that question. I think, modifying, requesting a modification to be ground mounted. I'm just concerned with the stonework. It does look like very old stone an old stone foundation. So I'm concerned with, damage to that. I'd rather see that left undisturbed and do something with a ground mount instead.
Okay.
And the only penetration then would be where the line enters the building for the interior unit.
Anybody else have comments on that?
Do you have the units on first floor and second?
Right. The one, if you saw, remember in the other drawing, you saw the one line is shorter to go into the first and the other goes up to the second. How wide are the units? The lines going up? Like gutter size, they're small, and we've had them done in the past in other applications, other projects where they've painted it's a paintable cover that goes on. You paint it to match the brick color, and it's not going to blend completely, but it does, otherwise it's a stark white line that will be going up.
Do I hear a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker?
So move, Mike.
Do I hear a second? Thank you, Nettie. That motion's on the floor. Any debate? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Second, do I hear a motion to approve the installation of 2 heat pump compressors at 205 West Chestnut Street with the provision that the compressors be ground mounted and that the piping from each be colored to match the red brick of the facade?
So moved.
Eddie Morano moves it. Do we have a second?
Janet Mars, second.
Thank you, Janet. That motion is duly made and on the floor. Any debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And there are no nays. Next item of business is 634 Delaware Avenue, a proposal to repaint the exterior. John Olson, applicant and owner. John, are you here? Sorry. Snuck in there. You want to tell us a little about what you want to do?
So I'd like to remove the window awnings that are inoperable. There's one above the window, above the front door. And there's 3 total. One to the right of the front door, one above the front door, and that big bay window on the left. It's kind of shaded, but it's above it.
You may remember this property was in front of you last month to remove the hedges
Yeah.
and replace the hedges with a fence.
Are you talking about the cover over the front door, the little portico, or there's an awning?
But there's these like metal, aluminum
Yeah.
awnings that, like, when they were operable, they would retract and
Oh, they retract.
shade
Got it.
keep some of the sunlight out. So I like to remove those and then paint the two triangular parts above the door, urbane bronze. It's like this, sort of like the color of my shirt. Do you want to see some of these? Sure. Then the front door, I like to paint tricorn black, as well as the flashing around the windows. Not the part touching the glass, but the part that's outboard.
Right.
Because it's metal. The other parts are plastic.
So the brick is staying brick, and then these are
Gotcha.
just more accent colors.
It's the trim color, tricorn black. And I'd also like to paint the gutters and downspouts and the roof trim, that darker trim color as well.
Sounds nice. Any questions of the applicant or comments? Do I hear a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act?
So move, Mike.
Do I hear a second?
Nettie Morales.
Thank you, Nettie. That motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Next, do I hear a motion to approve the exterior painting plan and awning removal at 634 Delaware Avenue as proposed?
So moved, Mike.
Thank you, Michael. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janet. That motion's on the floor. Any debate or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Nobody. Thank you, John.
Here's your colors, your paint.
Next item of business is 86 Abrune Street, proposal to install a new roof. Daniel and Nolani Moshan, applicant and owner. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello. If you could just give us a little introduction and a brief explanation of what you're planning to do.
Sure. My name is Daniel Moshan. This is my wife, Nolani. We lived in the house for about 19 years, something like that. This is John Flister. They're the contractor that we've chosen to do the job. I was very impressed by his acuity, because he told us things that we didn't even realize how bad they were with the metal roof. So what we're trying to do is, we have 5 roofs on our house. There's a front porch roof, there's a metal roof over the main section, and sometime in the 1920s there was an addition made on this house, and that has asphalt shingles that are completely failing. And then there's a little back porch roof and a detached garage roof. Those 5 roofs, we would like to unify them and have one roof instead of different substrates
But
and
we're
things.
only talking about changing two.
Right, so it would be over the main house and the addition that was
Right.
done in the 20s. The other 3 roofs are in great shape. So what we wanted to do was, there's a metal shingle situation, and we wanted to take that out and put something that actually looked better and protected our house. Everything is falling apart. We years ago asked about recoating the roof. I don't even know if it's paint or coating. Nobody will touch it.
Right.
Nobody wants any part of this. So we didn't even know that we were going to do the main roof, but we realized how bad it was, and that's actually peeling and coming apart, and it's going to leak badly soon. We're getting little leaks. We've got holes. The whole back roof was done badly right before we moved in, so everything's delaminating. We're getting pieces in our driveway. So we think that we want to protect our house, but we also want to make it look nice for the neighborhood and have a unified roof that looks,
Right.
it's made of and is colored sympathetically with what's on the rest of the roof.
What's going to be the color of the shingle?
But we chose originally charcoal, and I brought this in case it's helpful. Some of the check marks are what is in stock. Part of the problem here is we want to make sure we get this done before we get leaks. We're getting and these are the stock colors. A lot of this stuff's been affected by COVID, but we chose the charcoal color. This is the color of the other 3 roofs, and we're totally open to that. It's, either one of them we think would look nice from a sort of a streamlined point of view.
Would you like us to pass it around?
So
Yeah.
either way, sure. Which way should? This is the color we chose, but we could
So
do
the
that
third
one.
down on
complement
each
each
column
other.
Yeah.
from the top.
So the one in the second column matches more closely the 2
Yeah, it's
porch
got
roofs
more
on
gray
the
in it.
front and the back.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. That would
And-
be the garage, the back porch, and
I just want to look at
the
front
not just the back porch and what's on the
Right.
detached. I'm sorry,
Garage.
the detached garage, the back porch, and what's currently on the failing
addition.
asphalt roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't necessarily think having a darker color on the main roof and a little slightly different color on your porch roofs is a bad thing. My question would be, did you look at doing a metal roof over for that entire top portion? And
that existing tin is rusted.
I mean,
gone.
yeah, I
replacing
get
it.
you
So
have
the
to
other
take
problem
that.
that we have there is there's cedar shakes underneath that. So they're going to have to resheathe the entire home as well.
Okay.
So that added cost of doing the sheathing is just too much of a burden with the current pricing of
Okay.
today's
It's a
market.
curiosity question because the metal roofs are very nice. And
They
they're-
are, but the problem with those metal shingles is that they tend to fray on the edges, and those are the parts that are the most rusted, and there's no wire wielding or amount of time and labor that could
So the-
resurrect those.
So the original roof underneath the tin is a cedar shake roof. Interesting.
So it's still got the original, underneath is the original battens and the cedar shakes. So
Wow.
going back to an architectural shingle would be more in line with what it was originally.
Wow.
Any other questions for the applicants? Comments? Anybody have a strong preference on the shingle color? I would leave it to your discretion either. Do I hear a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker? Nettie Morano, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Mar, second.
Thank you, Janet. That motion's on the floor. Any debate? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And I'll note there are no dissenting votes. Next, do I hear a motion to approve the installation of a new roof at 86 Brune Street as proposed in GAF Timberline HDZ asphalt shingles in either charcoal or pewter gray at the discretion of the owner?
So moved, Nettie Morano.
Thank you, Nettie. Do I hear a second?
Second, Mike.
Thank you. That motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And I'll note there's no opposition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
very much. Appreciate
Just a
it.
quick question, because we have no idea what the process is. Does the building department approve this? Or I understand the permit was already in process.
Right. The building department will be notified of this approval. When they'll be copied, you'll get it. You'll get the approval sent to you, and they will be copied on that. So they'll have that in their record.
Okay.
As soon as you see it coming to you, which will probably be beginning of next week, if the paperwork is ready and they'll take a verbal, they can call our office if they're
Okay.
comfortable with that, and
I
I'll
understand
give them
the
verbally.
paperwork was pretty advanced. So, okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Next item of business is 785 Broadway, a proposal to install business identification signage. Jennifer Crane, applicant, Amsterdam Columbia Real Inc. owner.
Okay.
Jennifer, thank you. Can you just give us a little overview of what you're doing?
So
opened an acupuncture and holistic medicine clinic at 785 Broadway. The idea is to put the longer sign on the Broadway-facing wall of the building between the second and third floor windows. This building is right next to Venice Center. We have a parking lot in between the two spaces. So as you're coming down Broadway, you can see the side of the building. So it has two frontages, although it's not on a corner lot. So I'd like to put the other sign next to the picture window on that side.
Okay. You are on the third floor, so the sign in the front, the sign on the side of the building is not an issue that I see with zoning. The sign on the front may be a zoning concern because the cumulative signage, we have to look at the size of that and all the other signage on the building face and add the total square footage up. And that's something that has to be done through the building department to determine that. The second question would be its location. There's some specific language in the zoning code about where it's located when businesses are on the upper floors. And it might be that this would have to be moved above the third floor windows versus below the third floor windows, which might make it visible. I don't know. Then it becomes a question of
preferable to have it at that lower level.
Right.
I did speak with Eric Kitchen at the building department who looked up the specific square foot codes, which was, I'm sorry, I don't have it written down, but it's like
it's two times the
length in square footage
of the wall, but all the signage has to be
all of it.
So the yoga sign below and your sign have to be added together to see if that.
Like I did take the measurements on that, and the sign that I'm proposing is less than a third of the total square footage, although I also checked with the landlord if that was his preference or just knowing that there would be only 3 tenants in the building. So it's still less than a third of the total allowable square footage.
Okay.
That I could figure
Okay.
out. And the landlord also said that he has, the third tenant in the building has declined advertising, and he's comfortable even if there's a little nuance with that.
Where is your access? Where's the access to your studio?
It's not shown in these photos. It's around this side of the building, just directly around the edge.
Okay. Because our question at staff level was, would you need signage where your doorway is? Because we couldn't even figure out where your door is. So how your clients would know where to enter the building to get to your suite.
Yeah, that's a good question. The purpose of the signage is more for the street.
Just advertising? Okay.
Than being locational.
Okay. All right.
So do we have enough to act on here, Sue, or do we need to verify the dimensions?
I think you can, make your recommendation and just condition it with the review and approval of Building Safety Division. Rather than have her come back. And then, the only reason I asked the doorway signage is because now is the time to ask for it if you wanted it, rather than having to come back at a later time. And I don't know if your door has a window, you might do decal. I don't know. It's just, we wanted to put it out there.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Not a clear space that I've seen to do that advertising. Like in the moment, I just have like a small printed poster behind the window.
Okay. No, that's fine.
We've just done that, and really, it's
okay. All right.
Any other questions for the applicant? Comments, feedback? Do I hear a motion to declare this a Type 2 action under seeker?
Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Do I hear a second?
Second, Nettie.
Second, Nettie. Thank you. That motion's on the floor. Any debate? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Second, do I hear a motion to approve the signage installation at 785 Broadway as proposed, contingent upon the review of dimensions by the Building Safety Department?
Mike.
Do I hear a second? Thank you. That motion's on the floor for debate. Is there any? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. have several discussion items on the agenda. The first being 55 Franklin Street, presentation of a proposed upgrades and site improvements for the Kingston Library, including an exterior addition for a staircase and elevator. Hey, Marjorie. Thank you.
I used the library's copier for this, so the colors are not correct. So
We will read blue as.
That problem that the building on Wall Street had, where it turned blue.
Thank you.
Apparently computers have a hard time telling the difference.
Yeah. The
you want to introduce yourself?
You
Joe, do
just
you
want
wanna-
to pick up for the recording, just pick up one of those mics, and you can pick up a couple of them if you want to, so you don't have to share.
I'm an architectural conservator by trade, and I have a business in New York City, but I live in Kingston for 13 years. And I've been working with the library. I'm on the board, and we've been working on this project for, 7 or 8 years. It's developing, and we've recently hired a construction manager, come up with a budget, and we're going to do a referendum vote in September. So we wanted to come in front of you all because of the historical nature of the building, which is something I've always been very concerned about as we've been building this idea. So we did a lot of research with the people of Kingston saying what they might need, what they're lacking in their living here. And one of the big things was a community meeting room that could stay open later. So a lot of this is about our meeting room is up on the second floor, but we can't close it off and have the library closed, but the meeting room open. So we needed to find a way that the meeting room can stay open until 10 o'clock at night or whatever the adult population needs during the week, because they're all working, and we're closing at 7. So that's one of the things we were doing. There's a lot that we're doing here, but I'm going to try to stay on the historical issues. So this bump out part of the structure is going to be added on. There's going to be an elevator that'll take up to that floor and a staircase that comes down onto the street level, which is a code issue. We have to have a staircase. When we start to remodel the library to this extent, we've got to be code compliant. So that staircase exits the people out onto the street and qualifies for that. So in doing this, there's a glass barrier that stops at the edge of the building. The cornice and all the roof lines stay in place because this is lower than that. So you keep that sight line.
The bump out front's Liberty Street, right? Got it. So it's not on the more visible Franklin Street side.
Right. And we're using materials, colors of composite block that are kind of echoing the colors used in the library. The coinage of these stones on the corner, we're going to kind of bring that color into this. There's no way you can confuse this with the original building, but we do want it to be in a friendly place there, echoing those colors of the building. A lot of glass, metal, but we'll keep with the red color of the Kingston Library. The other thing that's going on in here is, originally the land was bought in 1850 by the school board, and a building was built, and then another one was added on, 1877, and then another one in 1888, excuse me. So it's a combination, but they did really do a nice job of echoing, so you can hardly tell that it is two different buildings, structures that were added onto each other. So the original architect intent here was kind of a Gothic structure with these high glass windows and high ceilings in the interior spaces. But in 1970, it was the Sojourner Truth School when Washington opened up. And then in 1978, it was bought by the library, and that's when the transformation started to take place into repurposing the building as a library and not a school. So what they did is they opened up a lot of the walls so the rooms would be bigger, not just individual classrooms. But they also dropped the ceiling for the mechanicals. So all the mechanical in the buildings are from 1978. They're like 50 years old. That's one of our big problems. But anyway, they dropped the ceilings in these rooms, which cut off these windows. So at night, only the bottom ones light up. And you lose the original architect's intent totally. They should have these soaring lines going up, and they took off the bottom of it. And they also lowered the ceilings inside, so the original architect's intent is also gone from inside. The ceilings are 5 feet lower than they should be. So in our process of what we're doing with the whole renovation, which is a lot about mechanicals and such, we're going to take this out. We're going to raise the ceiling back up. And so the original architect's intent of these glowing tall windows are going to be back in the picture. And inside, you're going to have the high ceilings. So I think as far as the original architect would be concerned, the fact that we're bringing back this height kind of makes this okay too. That's my feeling on it. And we, again, are not disturbing the building. We're going to have to. There was an opening to the building on this side that's been bricked in. So it has a history of having an opening there. But we're going to make another one. And again, the glass barrier here, so this doesn't connect, and this being lowered so the whole cornice and all the detail of that is left visual.
So are you looking at this all as like a single phase project? Because it's a pretty massive project.
Well, it is depending on what you consider massive. Probably for here, it's pretty massive.
I'm just thinking the disturbance, trying to keep the library functioning
we're moving the
at the same.
Out.
Okay, all right.
Another structure. The whole project is going to probably take at least a year.
Right. Okay.
Cut the building of all the mechanicals, and we're in process. I think our direct mail piece is going to go out in about a week, something like that, and we're going to hit the city hard on educating on what we're doing. This is our first stop, actually. Well, we talked to the mayor.
I think it's a great project. So you're going to be where are you relocating to?
We have it in our budget, but we haven't gone out yet.
Okay.
We're hoping some building owner that's got a vacant building might consider.
How much square footage would you be looking for?
We wouldn't be moving our entire collection. We would be putting part of that
A select, yeah.
and try to maintain as much of our services as possible when we move.
Okay.
Right now we have 16,000 square feet. We wouldn't be looking for that much.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking. I mean, you've got an extensive amount of material there, and
We need to offer a lot of the same services.
right.
And it has to be in Kingston.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
how many options are there? I don't know.
No, that's why I was wondering what kind of square footage you were looking at, so I could give it some thought. Maybe think about putting some feelers out.
I would take at least 6,000, 5,000.
I don't know. We work with an architect who is very experienced in library construction and all of these things, and I would be turning to them to say, okay, if we want to maintain services.
You let us know.
What we move into is going to have to be built out for our purpose. So if we can get a structure that maybe is offered to us or a really good deal or something like that, we could look at it and see if we could make it work.
And you're looking for a year, 2 year, kind of a year and a half. Okay.
I'm hoping for a year, but yeah.
Okay. All right. I mean, let us know. We can maybe help you out there.
This is kind of interesting too. It's a different perspective, but here's your bump out elevator and staircase in relationship to the whole floor.
But this is going to be a new entrance. This is going to be the main entrance now.
It's going to be a new entrance, and if you're not renting the room, if you're using the adults, the big meeting room at night, that's going to be your entrance.
Okay.
But
I would say it will probably become the primary entrance for folks. It's where the bulk of our parking is, and it will be
Right.
easily handicap accessible and stroller friendly and all those good things right out the parking lot.
I really like it. and I applaud you for doing something that's ambitious and not trying to ape or caricature more red brick, trying to caricature the existing design. I think that would be really mediocre and bad. So I like this. My only comment is if it can be even a little bolder and sort of like where all that gray block, can that be even more glass? I think that would be even more dramatic. And
the glass is what tilts it to like, don't even think this is part of the original.
Right, exactly.
The color and the palette kind of brings it back in. I like the glass too, but we can put some more.
That would be my only comment on it. I think that would be even more dramatic. It would be more bright and welcoming, and sort of at night, particularly all lit, would be really.
And you can see the building in the staircase.
Mm-hmm. And you could see people. Yeah, you could see people. You could see people movement walking up. I think that'd be great.
I agree with Hayes too about the glass. It looks in the rendering at least, it looks a little foreboding with that much block. It doesn't seem as open as it could be.
I thought that people would be worried about the glass more because it is so different, modern.
Well, I think it needs to be. I think you want to set it very much apart from the existing building. Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be a big boost to that block, that neighborhood, to have something particularly illuminated at night. And
right.
People and seeing people inside.
We could actually probably take these and just make them bigger.
I think so.
I don't think there's any structural reason why we
can't. Yeah, I would make as much of the glass as possible.
We have it down here, but we might bring it all the way to there or something. And make it.
And on the front too, if you can. And on the front too, yeah. Where the signage is.
We can certainly talk to our designer
Talk
about
to the
that.
architect about it.
There's,
I don't know about how much weight bearing all this is compared to putting.
And
the
there is an elevator in there.
Right.
So that's part of.
Yeah.
But the elevator's on the glass side already, right?
Yeah, the elevator, according to the floor plan. That the block area
Elevator's
is your
on the other side of the
staircase.
glass.
This is the staircase. This is the elevator. And this is the little waiting room where you can talk before you go into the big meeting space.
Right.
Right.
I think it was a lot of important chatting goes on in the parking lot outside. Or in the other rooms where you can talk and stuff. So yeah, the elevator's over here.
But I don't see why. It's really the staircase in this left part that's all blocked. Why couldn't the staircase? I think you could do something really cool where the staircase is visible from the outside and it's mostly glass.
Yeah, our designer is fantastic, and we can bring that back to her.
The architect specializes in libraries. He did Socrates Libraries when they renovated the building there, and amongst other things all over the place. And same with the construction manager that we have now that has helped us put budgets together that are pretty accurate with escalation, trying to figure out the escalation and what it's going to be a year from now, too. But he's very professional and does a lot of libraries and hospitals and things like that.
Good looking. I'm curious what Andrea thinks.
I'm always all for more glass, but I think being an architect, knowing more of what might go into that has to do with fire rating for the staircase itself. Adding fire-rated glass and whatnot for that
could be costly.
Could be costly, yeah. So, but obviously that's something for you to talk about.
We're doing our best to value engineer this as we go along. But
Sure.
This is a pretty big project, So you'll be hearing more about it as we go out and do these direct mail pieces.
But do you agree, though, generally it's better to do something modern and not copying the...
So, again, where you go with historic preservation in this regard has more to do with you want to make sure that the new addition it feels as though it's of its own time. And I would say this certainly accomplishes that. Does it have to be ultra modern? No, I don't think so. I actually wanted to ask you a question about where did you come up with where's the inspiration for using steel columns and sort of in the portico here, that sort of overhang? Because there's not really an indication of any extra steel on the outside. So that's kind of the first thing that jumped out at me. But I think the sort of storefront glass looks great. I actually almost had a kind of a weird reaction to the masonry on the main portion of the stair, because I thought it might have actually been like an aluminum panel.
It's a composite, and they have an enormous selection of color. And what I'm hoping to do, because the stonework on the building that's on the corners on some of the windows and everything, it's kind of like what's at City Hall in a way, but it isn't just one color.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping to pick 3 or 4 different colors that are very close in value and tone, and then randomly put them on there.
But the intention for that is to be a masonry of some sort, not a metal panel.
It's not metal, it's
Correct.
a composite.
Right.
Of
Okay.
some sort, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's a panelized system, but it's not metal.
Okay.
And again, the color palette is really big. But I'm talking also subtleties here, not wild patterns of
Yeah,
change. Just enough to make it feel a little organic and not just one color and tone. That's what I've talked to them about.
And to answer your question about the steel, I think that's suggested by I don't have the language.
That's okay.
The steel plates along the sides of the building are that maroon steel. Whatever they do, they hold the building up. I know that much.
It's a tie back, yeah.
But I think that's what our architect and designer were echoing in those steel beams.
And also, like doing the referendum, we have these drawings, and we've worked out the floor plans, and we've worked out all the meeting rooms, smaller ones that we're going to add into the library, and everything we wanted to do to really support the community and make it a more modern library the way they're used more now today. Not that we do a good job of it, but the buildings needs help. So we're doing all that at the same time, but what we haven't done is a complete set of drawings and bidding documents because it's expensive. So if when the referendum passes, then we'll go right at that. But it'll probably take us about a year just to put the bidding documents together and all the specs and drawings. And so I can't really speak to the load bearings and all these kind of issues. They have to be kind of worked out. The architect feels comfortable about it, and that's enough for us for right now.
So you're putting out a mailer, you said, within the next month or so?
They're pretty much designed. Our last approval is tomorrow, and then they go right out from the printer right directly into the mail.
And then your referendum is, what's your timeline on that?
That'll be September 20th, the same date as our regular trustee election and operating tax levy vote.
And we're going to be going to a lot of different meetings between now and then.
All right,
we don't want the impression out there that we're trying to sneak this one in or something. We want everybody to know about this, and hopefully the community will support it. I feel it will.
So you're replacing all the heating, air conditioning, everything is all going to be completely updated.
Yeah, we're working by studying the Kingston Climate Initiative. That's what it's still called.
Yep.
And we're trying to do everything electric and wells for the air conditioning.
Geothermal.
Yeah,
okay.
We have that built in. We have enough space with the parking area around it for plenty of wells. And we're going in that direction to make this like a shining star for the city of what that want this to be right up there in the front, the building.
Great. I think that's terrific. I mean, if you're going to be doing pavement over and things like that, you might consider porous pavers, to eliminate stormwater runoff. I mean, there's a lot of...
That's something we've
done several years ago.
I know you, yeah.
And dry wells. So actually, we're already disconnected from the city's stormwater.
This process started in 1978 to repurpose the building from a school to a library. And then we started working on this master plan, and we were able to do little pieces of it. There's some people that now don't remember the fence. But
Yeah.
remember the fence that was there before. We raised enough money and did that new fence around it, which was an enormous accomplishment, I thought. It changed everything. And then I've met people now that think that's been there for years. They don't know. So they're just newer. And we did the children's library, if you've been there. I think that was really successful. And it's become a pre-COVID anyway, it became a gathering space, a space to meet, for people to meet at. We had kids, the kids could play, the adults could talk off to the side. And
Right.
it became a destination at that point, that library. So a lot of this is pushing. We've done little bits and pieces of it. We did the teen room, which the teens helped design. We did an entranceway. We did defense. We put in this new amphitheater in the front. If you haven't seen it yet, it's relatively new. So we've been doing pieces of this master plan, but there's nothing small left, And the Band-Aids are starting to pop off the mechanicals and stuff. So I think as stewards of the building, the board voted and said, yeah, we got to move ahead with this. So
Where do you foresee housing the local history collection?
Yeah.
That's come up.
Local history collection will continue. I think there might even be a space indicated on the first floor plan.
Oh, yeah. Man, I thought you meant when we move.
No, we will be retaining that. That being said,
That's
we
a
have
prize
we
collection.
have the very good fortune of being in Kingston, and we work very closely with Taylor Brook and the Ulster County Archives, and we as a popular reading library are not really equipped to be an archive, so we will keep our city directories and our local history collection, but even now it's not very big. So we kind of try to work as much as we can with the local archives and with the local historians to make sure that we're, that everything is there and accessible, but maybe not all at the public library.
Okay, thanks.
I like the room, though, personally. It's really big. Gets bigger.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. Thank you.
Really nice.
Thank you for giving us the time, and I'm so glad to hear that you all are
Thank you
excited.
for coming. And,
'Cause,
I mean,
really,
really.
we've been immersed in this for so long. We're not sure what other people think.
Well, I think it's going to be controversial. I mean, a lot of people are going to want you to try to do that sort of whatever the original style is and bring that eave out and replicate it. But I think that would be a terrible mistake.
I've done a lot of projects under SHPO, people like that, and too. I do a lot of theater restoration in churches and stuff, and this is the right way to handle something like that. I really believe that. It's not too much, but at the same time, it doesn't confuse anybody.
No.
Start getting too close and confusing people. It's just not a professional way of handling something like that. This building, it represents the only building left of the school that was built in the 1800s in Kingston. It's the only one.
Mahar, I think, would argue with you.
What is it?
Mahar, that it's now become their central office. It's on Winecoop Place. It's tucked up away. You might have missed it.
Okay, I didn't know about it.
But speaking of schools, I mean, that's part of my concern about the gray block portion with the two narrow vertical windows. That almost looks like kind of 1970 elementary school style.
Yeah,
to me, that little piece of it looks dated almost.
I think a part of that may be that it looks like block. It looks like concrete block.
Ooh, that takes me back.
But I think when you see this composite material, it has a nice tone about it and a quality about it and a feel about it that's pretty interesting. But, we haven't, all the palette, a lot of that stuff is we're waiting on the referendum to really push it.
Very impressive.
Okay, well,
Great. Thanks. Thank you all for your time.
look for our mailer.
Thank you.
Support the library.
Efforts.
Okay. Mark, do you want to adjourn the HLPC, and then the HAC just has some endorsements to...
I do have one inquiry that came to me I wanted to ask you about. The president of Congregation Emmanuel approached me about getting landmark status as a mid-century modern building on, I think it's 243 Albany Ave. Who's the best person for me to steer them to get them started?
Well, they had been in front of us.
Yeah.
He came to us, I want to say, probably a year ago.
Pre-COVID.
Right, and he wanted to work on that. I thought you were going to work with him.
I did, but I had at that point steered him to someone who's not here anymore.
Okay.
So he was asking me to whom he should talk now. To you, to Kyla, to whom?
So he has all his documentation together?
I think he has a list. I've helped him gather the plans and
so he needs help with the form, completing the form.
I didn't think I was the best person to walk him through that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, send him to us, and we'll see what we can do. And I have a couple people that will probably help us out.
Thank you.
Consultants, because that's a pretty extensive process to
Right.
the application.
Right. We're in the process of engaging a consultant to do intensive level survey work in Wilbur and Pankaki right now. And once we have that consultant on board, this could be maybe a small add-on as a separate item, and we do have some consulting funds in the budget. So maybe for a separate fee, they might be willing to help out with this one.
Okay.
That would be one option, but there's others there too. I mean, Friends of Historic Kingston certainly has a wealth of individuals that would be helpful, I think, as well.
But when he came a couple of years ago, he was still in the process of selling the congregation on pursuing it. Is there consensus to do it?
There is board consensus. I don't think I believe I've convinced them that it does not need to go to the congregation as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Oh my God.
Yeah, because that would be, you definitely would need their support, because the nomination, obviously going through, would have to have the owner's consent.
And the board is the controlling entity for the building.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. And I will entertain a motion that the HLPC adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Hayes. A second?
Second, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. All those in favor indicate.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. None.
Okay. HAC, I had sent out one resolution for supporting the Hudson River Maritime Museum.
That was the one Greg Swansea was?
Correct.
Okay.
So you should have received a copy of that resolution. If you could probably do these all in one full swoop of a vote. And then there were 5 separate letters of support that went out for the Brownfield Opportunity Area Plan for Midtown, LWRP grant for Kingston Point Wetland Public Access, Steet Stadium upgrades for Phase 3, Hasbrook Park was a skate park, and the Rear Center. Those were all drafts that went out to you. If you will endorse them, I will have Hayes.
So one's a resolution and one
is a resolution and the rest are letters. Right.
Do I hear? We don't have to do a seeker on this, do we? There's no seeker vote on these.
No.
Do I hear a motion to approve as proposed the resolutions of support for 50 Rondout Landing and the letters of support for the DOS Brownfield Opportunity Area Plan, the DOS LWRP Kingston Point Park Wetland Public Access Plan, the OPRHP for Deet Stadium Upgrades Phase 3A, and the OPRHP for Skate Park Hasbrook Park.
Mike?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janet. Any debate? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. And I will note no dissenting votes.
Okay, that gets signed. Hayes, I have all of them to sign, for you to sign, and you just need to do a motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn the HAC meeting for July 2022?
Nettie, so moved.
Nettie, do I hear a second?
Second, Mike.
Second, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody opposed.
Acclamation.
We have all the...
They go back in the